Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and I am back with a different kind of video for this channel. So I had mentioned in, I think, my last Chatty Get Ready With Me, maybe doing a video about my personal spooky stories in honor of Halloween. And so here we are. I did a video like this on my other channel like a very long time ago. So I just thought it might be fun to hear some spooky stories for Halloween. I also will have a Shein haul coming for you this week, maybe even today. I may post two videos today just because I've got some really cute stuff from Shein and I really want to show you guys. But anyways, and then also I just wanted to mention my scent of the day today is Wicked Good Beetlejuice, which Sweet Amy sent over, and I am loving it so much. It smells like a bag of candy. It smells delicious. It's got a little bit of violet in it. It's really sweet. It's light. It's so fun. It's like perfect for Halloween. Okay, so anyways, I'm gonna start with the first story that the first time I ever saw a ghost, the first time something really, really spooky happened to me. So I think I was like in fifth grade. So I was probably Charlotte's age. I was about 11 years old. And I made really, really good friends with a girl at school. Her name was Christina. And we were like this. It was that time in life where you have your best friend and you do everything together. And so I basically lived at her house. My This was when my parents were getting ready to separate, like things were just not stable at home. And so I spent a lot of time at her house and it kind of became like my second home. Well, to give you a little backstory, I grew up in a little town in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State on the Kitsap Peninsula, so like on the little arm that juts off of Washington State, um, right on a little bay called Liberty Bay, which was part of the Puget Sound. It was just a ferry ride away from Seattle. It was beautiful. It was, and it is. It's very idyllic, but Paulsbo has a very seedy underbelly. But, anyways, that's just to set the stage. Now, there was one kind of bad part of town, and it was where the projects were. And the projects were actually housing that had been built for military families during World War II. So it was old military housing that had basically turned into the projects. They have since torn that all down and then they rebuilt a bunch of houses. And so there's not really a bad part of town anymore. But anyways, in that same area, there's a nursing home and there used to be an orphanage for children. And I'm guessing this was all kind of around the same time. I remember doing a little bit of research on this many years ago. So this is all just coming from memory, but I'm pretty sure there was an orphanage there and the orphanage burned down. And I do believe, sadly, some children did not make it through that. Well, where that orphanage had been, they built townhouses, and these townhouses are where my best friend lived. So I was at her house all of the time, and the townhouse was basically like you would walk in the front door. It had a separate garage right out front, and you would walk in the front door. There was a small bathroom immediately to the left, and then a long hallway. And then right across from the bathroom, there was a set of stairs that went up to the second story. And then you would just walk down the long hallway. On the right was the kitchen, and then straight ahead was the living room with like a sliding glass door in the back. Upstairs, there were two bedrooms and another bathroom. Um, so, anyways, this will be relevant in a little bit. Nothing happened for a very long time. I used to go over there all the time and I never felt uncomfortable. Nothing seemed weird for a very long time until one day we used to love to go to the football games, but we were really young. We were like 11 and her mom was kind of strict. She kept us close to home all the time, which was good. But we really wanted to go to a football game that night and she wouldn't let us. So we were sitting up in her room and we were just like talking about how kind of bummed out we were that we couldn't go to this football game. And all of a sudden, we both heard, like clear as day, something call her name 3 times: Christina, Christina, Christina. And we both just stopped dead in our tracks. We were like, because we knew we had both just heard that. And we freaked out. We got up and we ran downstairs and like we were telling her mom. And her mom was like, I think her mom kind of tried to keep it on the down low for a long time because her mom had been having experiences in that townhouse probably the entire time, but we were so little and oblivious, we just didn't, pay attention. But this was like directed right at her. So, anyways, time goes on. I'm quite sure we had other experiences in the house, but I just, again, we're little, we just weren't paying too much attention until one night I was over there. I was spending the night. She had a neighbor too that was way older than us. We were 11 and the neighbor was like 15, but the neighbor would come hang out with us. Um, so, anyways, one night it was me, the neighbor, whose name was Heidi, and Christina. And her mom was there, but her mom was upstairs in her bed watching TV, and we were downstairs. We were just like, it was kind of like a slumber party. We were like talking, and there was music playing in the background. And there was a huge windstorm raging outside. In fact, I don't know that I remember a windstorm quite like this. Aside from this instance. But there was a huge windstorm raging outside. And all of a sudden, we were just like chilling in the living room. All of a sudden, the front door, which was dead bolted, flew open. The front door flew open. Again, the door was dead bolted. So I don't even know, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was just like locked at the handle, but I'm pretty sure because they had a deadbolt and they always used the deadbolt. But anyways, the door flies wide open. I didn't really feel a gust of wind come into the living room, but her mom had this like wooden shelf, and they were a military family. Her stepdad was in the Navy. So they had moved all over the place. And her mom, everywhere they went, she would get like a piece of, that like light kind of fine crystal that is, it's not like leaded crystal. It's not like heavy. It was very like delicate, fine crystal. Well, she had an entire shelf that was probably 5 or 6 shelves. It was tall and it was full of all of these little, like crystal goblets and things. And then she had matches where she would collect matches. I mean, this is something you did in like the 80s and early 90s. And this would have been in like 1991 that this happened. But she had like matches that she had collected in all of these little crystal goblets and different things. Well, they all of the furniture they had was like that heavy late 70s, early 80s, like very, very heavy with the really thick fabric. All of their furniture was like that. So they had this like recliner that was so heavy. It was like a very heavy, like green, I will never forget, like green tweeted fabric, very like 70s, early 80s. Well, anyways, when the door flew open, that recliner flew backwards and but nothing else in the room moved. None of the light crystal got blown anywhere, like nothing else moved. So, I mean, we freaked out. We screamed, and her mom came running down the stairs and she like shut the door and she came into the living room and she was like, "What happened to the chair?" And we were like, "I don't, we don't know. It just like flew backwards when the door opened." And her mom knew that something about that wasn't right because the chair is way, way heavier. I mean, there were even like papers on the table and stuff that didn't move. It was so weird. So, anyways, we kind of get over this scare of that happening, and it must have been about 30 minutes later. We're all sitting there, and then all of a sudden, all three of us, out of the corner of our eye, we see a little figure walk from. I'm getting chills just talking about this, walk out of the little bathroom because again, when you first walk in the door, there was a small bathroom on the left, and right across from the bathroom was the stairs that went up to the second story. And we saw a little figure walk out of the bathroom and go across to the stairs and then disappear. I guess, up the stairs. And it looked to be about the size of a child. It wasn't a dark shadow. It was like a white. I mean, she was like a little white kind of figure. It looked like a female. Um, and we all just froze. And then after about 10 seconds, we all were like, did you just, did you all just see that? Everybody, we all three of us had seen it. Oh my gosh, it was so scary. So, anyways, needless to say, they ended up moving out of that apartment or out of that townhouse shortly after that. I don't think that they were there even another month after that. They moved onto base because there is a nuclear submarine base right there called Banger, which is the base that he worked out of. So they ended up just moving onto base, and then we into an apartment there, and we never had like paranormal experiences there again. Thank goodness. So that's like the earliest memory that I have. Now, my mom and my older brother um, at at different times worked in the nursing home that was part of that like whole complex. I don't know if either of them experienced anything kind of paranormal in that nursing home. I also went to daycare in a house that was on that property, but I only went for a very short period of time because my mom ended up, I think she ended up quitting and just coming to stay home with us. But, anyways, that's the first really creepy story that I can remember. Okay, the second one. Fast forward about 3 years, I guess. I have always been very leery and nervous about Ouija boards because I don't know. I've just always had this sense that they cannot connect to anybody. And I could be wrong. This is just my own intuition, but I've always had this feeling that they cannot connect to anything good or to real people. To me, the only thing that can come through a Ouija board is something dark. So I have always stayed away from them. I don't know what possessed us. So this is a Ouija board story. I do not know what possessed us, but it was again the same kind of a situation. By this time, my friend Christina had moved away, so I had another friend that I had been friends with her since kindergarten. So we were always close and pretty much always hung out. Um, and I think at this point, she actually they like rearranged the district. So she was going to a different school. Um, so I had become really, really good friends with this girl named Lindsay. We were in seventh grade. We must have been yeah, we were either in seventh or eighth grade. And Lindsay lived out near Keyport, which is another kind of part of it's another government like facility that's kind of like the base. It's affiliated with the base, but it's called Keyport, and it's out on this like little peninsula that juts into um, Liberty Bay. And she lived in a log cabin like right across the street from the water. It was a really, really beautiful area. Um, her situation was very strange, but it was the same kind of thing. And it makes me wonder if because we were going through turmoil, if that attracted, I don't know. Um, but anyways, she was going through the same kind of thing. Things were not good with her parents. They were getting ready to separate. So the energy in the house just wasn't very good. And so me, Lindsay, and then my other friend Jenny, we all were having a sleepover at Lindsay's house. I don't know what possessed us to pull out a Ouija board. I don't even know where this Ouija board came from. I don't know if it must have been Lindsay's. She must have had it. I don't know what possessed us to pull out this Ouija board and think that it was a good idea to do this, but we did. We pulled out this Ouija board and we, put our hands on the planchette and we all promised that we're not going to move it. And so we start asking it, is there anybody here that wants to communicate with us? And pretty immediately, the planchette went to yes. And so we're like, okay, cool. Who is this? And I can't remember. I think it spelled out. Yeah, it did. It spelled out a name that neither Jenny or I recognized, but Lindsay recognized. And she immediately, like, her face went pale. And we were like, who, whose name is that? And she was like, that's my grandpa who passed away, so many years ago. And then I started to freak out. And so did Jen. We all were like really nervous, but we kept going. And so she kept asking questions because we obviously didn't know this person. So we were just like playing along, but she kept asking questions and they were kind of general questions. And then she said, and I guess it was getting all of the answers correct. So then she says, and that's another way to know she could have been controlling it, but I don't think so. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But Jenny and I definitely couldn't have been controlling it because we didn't know any of this information. So, anyway, she was like, well, I'm going to ask him something that only he would know. I'm going to ask him what my middle name is. So she does. She was like, okay, if this is really my grandpa, what is my middle name? And it spells out Nicole. I didn't even know her middle name, and neither did Jenny. Like, we didn't know her middle name. So as soon as it started to spell out Nicole, she just starts crying because at this point she thinks we're talking to her grandpa. And I'm getting really nervous because, again, I just don't think that anything good can come through a Ouija board. So um, the planchette just starts moving really, really fast at this point. It's just like moving. And at this point, I don't even know what it's saying. It's just going really, really fast. I can tell that things just went off the rails. I can feel it in my bones that this is not good, that whatever has come through is really, really nasty. And I don't know, I don't even know where this Bible came from, but she had a Bible in her room. Why, I don't know, because they were not religious people, but she had a Bible in her room. So all I knew to do, and at this point, this is why I know nobody was controlling it, because we all got so scared that we took our hands off the planchette. And I'm not kidding you guys when I tell you that planchette continued to move. So, and I know there's all of this like supposed science behind Ouija boards, and they even have a patent on the science that humans can, make the planchette move like it was us doing it. And maybe it was. I don't know. But all I know is that it continued to fly around that board after we had all pulled our hands off because we were terrified. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I just saw this Bible laying there and I picked up this Bible and I slammed it down on the Ouija board, and immediately the Ouija board, everything stopped and went silent. Now, Lindsay is bawling her eyes out. She is so she's scared, she's sad. And I'm telling her, Lindsay, I don't think that was your grandpa. I don't think that was him. I think that was something really bad. And we are like freaked out. See, me and my friend Jenny, her mom was really, really religious. And I would go to church with them, and they kind of got me into like church. I would go to church with them sometimes. Jenny and I were in this little group called the Missionettes. So I don't know, but I wasn't raised super religious either. But at this point, I was kind of religious on my own, which is why I didn't think it was a good idea to be messing with the Ouija board. And I still to this day don't think it's a good idea to mess with the Ouija board. But that is a 100% factual, true story that did happen. And yeah, don't play with Ouija boards. Now, I don't think that anything residual hung around, but I don't know. Her parents ended up getting divorced shortly after that. They ended up, actually, no, the mom ended up staying in that cabin. The dad moved out. Lindsay went with her dad. Her little brother stayed with her mom. And I don't know if that, whatever that was, hung around or if they had any more paranormal experiences. I know Lindsay didn't when she left. So I don't know. But all I know is that that was really freaky. Okay. And then the third story. This one is probably actually, I don't know. This one didn't scare me, but this is very strange. And again, 100% true. My mom and I both experienced it. So my mom and I, when I moved out to South Carolina in 2001. It probably was about 2003 at this point. And we had started an eBay business because there is a mall in North Carolina in Charlotte called Concord. It's actually in Concord, which is right outside of Charlotte. And we would drive up from Union, South Carolina. We would drive up to Concord once a week because there was an outlet there called Art and B. I don't know if you guys remember Art and B clothing, but it was really beautiful. It was very expensive, and we could get this stuff dirt cheap from this outlet, and we would just buy piles and piles of it because we could get it for like $3 to $5. Everything was 75% off in the store. So I mean, it was just very inexpensive, and we would flip it on eBay. We started a business and we would sell this stuff on eBay. So we were in the house that my mom lives in is a 3-bedroom house. It's 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, and it kind of has like a circular layout. It has a hall running down the middle. It's got 2 bedrooms on the right side, a bedroom in the back, and then the living room, dining room, and kitchen that you can just walk straight through. So it was kind of like a circular like layout. Also, I want to tell you a little bit of history because this is a very, very historic piece of land that my mom's house is on. Right next to her house is, and you can look this up, you can like Google this. Right next to her house is a house called the Dawkins House. It is a very historic house because during the Civil War, when Sherman was marching through the South, basically burning the South to the ground, he was coming towards Union because that is where the governor's mansion was back then. The governor's mansion was called Rose Hill, and the governor at that time was the secessionist governor. So he was the governor that actually started the wheels turning of South Carolina seceding from the Union, which eventually obviously turned into the Civil War. Well, when Sherman was marching through that area, they took all of the like secession documents and took everything that they felt like they needed to get rid of, and they rode into town to the Dawkins house, which was like a big beautiful house at the time. It's like condemned and falling down now, which is really sad. Anyways, and they burned all of the secession documents in that fireplace in the Dawkins house. It's very, so there's a lot of like, I'm sure, residual energy in the area. And my mom's house has always been haunted. Like, we have had so many experiences there. She still does to this day. But this particular night, we're both sitting in the office because we had an office that had like the computer, and it had where we had like racks and racks of clothes that we were selling, and it was just like our office where we worked out of. And she and I were both sitting there one night, and we were sitting kind of like I'm sitting now, and then my mom was sitting kind of the same way facing me. Well, all of a sudden, we're just sitting there, we're talking. All of a sudden, we both, out of the corner of our eye, we catch this little ball of light. And this gives me chills too. This little ball of light is literally coming. It's just floating in the air. I know this sounds insane, but this is 100% true. My mom will tell you the exact same thing. This little ball of light was floating through the air, and we're just watching it. We're transfixed. We're sitting there just watching this ball of light completely transfixed, not moving. And all of a sudden, it gets right about here. So say my mom's like right on the other side of the camera where you can't see, but it gets to about right in between the middle of us, and it explodes. And we were so stunned. We both felt like, I felt pieces of it hit my cheek where it exploded. And whatever it was hot. It wasn't like so hot that it burned me or anything, but I felt it. I can't remember if my mom felt it. I can't remember if it hit her too, but she saw it. She saw this little ball of light explode. We did not, like, it didn't scare us, but we were so like dumbfounded. Because we still to this day, we have no idea what that was. We don't know, but it happened. It absolutely happened. And nothing like that happened again. But my mom still to this day, she'll be like laying in bed. It'll be early in the morning, or like, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and she will hear footsteps walking up and down the hall outside her bedroom, and there's nobody there. And she's had that happen a ton. We saw a UFO outside of her house one time, like way, way up in the sky. It wasn't like right outside of her house, but it was like moving across the sky. I mean, at speeds and distances that no airplane could. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it, but she still has, she had two of the outbuildings from the Dawkins house in her backyard. One of them, I think, kind of fell down finally because they're just so old and she doesn't do anything with them. But one of them is still there. I don't know what the outbuildings were used for. I don't know if one was like an outhouse and one was maybe like storage, or I don't know, or a root or a, I just don't know. I don't know what they are, but um, sorry, my daughter is sliding across the floor and she is putting her hand up behind us. Anyways, yeah. So to this day, my mom still has experiences there. There is definitely residual energy there. And yeah, we don't know who it is. We don't know if, it's the spirits of the men that were burning the documents in the Dawkins house or what. I do think that somebody actually passed away in her house too, though. I do think that there was an older woman, if I remember correctly, it was an older woman, I think, whose, I think, grown child was maybe taking care of her. And I do think that she passed away in the house. So in that front room that was the office, if I remember correctly. So it could be her. Um, because I'm pretty sure that she was the only other owner of that house besides my mom, because she had lived there for so many years. I can't completely remember, but I think it was something like that. But, anyways, those are my creepy stories. Those are the three things that are the most memorable that I will never forget that have happened to me in my life. Thankfully, I don't have spooky things happen. Actually, that's not true. We had some things happen in the house that we sold 2 years ago. Uh, we definitely had some creepy things happen in that house. I can make a separate video about that though, because I'll have to get with my daughter and I'll have to get with Charlotte here, and we'll have to remember all of the different things that happened to us there. We had some creepy stuff happen there. Um, but anyways, you guys, happy Halloween, happy spooky season. I hope that these stories were fun and interesting to you. I would love to hear your spooky stories in the comments down below. Do not hold back. I love hearing other people's spooky stories. I do hope that you all enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.